Hi children, good morning and welcome back. In our previous video, we enjoyed reading The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Today in this class, we are moving on to a new poem which is written by Kamala Suraya. The title of the poem is My Grandmother's House. Children, this world is full of love, isn't it? We receive love from our parents, grandparents, friends, siblings, and our dear ones, etc. Isn't it? So here is a beautiful poem by Kamala Suraya, My Grandmother's House, which tell us more about the nature of love. Okay, so we all love our grandmothers, isn't it? We all love them. Do you remember what all things your grandmother has done for you? Do you have some memories with your grandmother? And how you like to remember your grandmother? Tell me. Or just close your eyes and see your grandmother's face. Or if your grandmother is with you in your house, just talk to her. You will feel loved, isn't it? You will feel she's the one who loves us the most, isn't it? Now, children, here we can move to the poem My Grandmother's House. So first of all, more about the author. Kamala Suraya, born in 1934 and died in 2009. Known by the names Madhavikutty and Kamala Das, was a gifted bilingual writer who could delight her readers with her inimitable style in both English and Malayalam. She is popular as a poet, a short story writer. She was the recipient of awards like Eruthachan Puraskaram, Vayalar Award, Sahitya Academy Award, etc. My Story, The Old Playhouse and Other Poems, Padmavati the Harlot and Other Stories, My Mother at 66, etc. are some of her works in English. So I hope you are familiar with Kamala Das. Okay. So she is known as, first of all, Kamala Das, Kamala Suraya, also Madhavi Kuti. She has another name that is Ami. Okay. So she is a bilingual writer. She writes in Malayalam as well as English. And her famous Malayalam books are Ende Kada, that is her autobiographical work, Ende Kada, and which is translated into English as My Story. In Malayalam, another work by Madhavikutty is Nirmadalam Puttakalam. Okay, so if you get chance to read these books, please read it. Okay, some of her other works are provided here. Please go through it. Now, children, this is a short poem, short and beautiful poem. So, first of all, I will read it. Please listen carefully. I received love. That woman died. The house withdrew into silence. Snakes moved among books. I was then too young to read, and my blood turned cold like the moon. How often I think of going there to peer through blind eyes of windows, or just listen to the frozen air, or in wild despair pick an armful of darkness to bring it here to lie behind my bedroom door like a brooding dog. You cannot believe, darling, can you, that I lived in such a house and was proud and loud. I who have lost my way and beg now at strangers' doors to receive love, at least in small change. Okay, so this is a beautiful poem. So now, please pause the video and read this poem silently by yourself. Okay, and after that, please come back to the explanation of the poem. Okay, now I received love. That woman died. Okay, if you look at the autobiography or biography of Madhavi Kuti or Kamala Suraya, you can see that her roots are in Kerala. Okay, her ancestral home is Nalapad. Okay, in Nalapad, Taravadu, and there she lived with her grandmother. Her grandmother is Balamani Amma. Okay, she's another famous writer. So, uh, Madhavikutti's favorite uh, character is her grandmother, and she says that it is from her grandmother she received lot of love. From no one else she received such a beautiful love, only from her grandmother. So grandmother is so dear to Madhavikutty. So here you can see a picture at the beginning, isn't it? This house, this is the ancestral house of Madhavikutty, that is Nalapattu Taravadu. Okay. Now to the poem. I received love. It is received, isn't it? Why? Because it is past. Now I am not receiving love. Now I am not getting love. That woman died. That woman loved me. Who is that woman? My grandmother. She died. That's why I'm not receiving love now. The house withdrew into silence. Snakes moved among books. I was then too young to read, and my blood turned cold like the moon. So, after her grandmother died, the house withdrew into silence. So now nobody lives in Nalapad Taravadu. So that house withdrew or retreat or move back into silence. Why? Because nobody is living there, okay? And what happened? Snakes moved among books. So Balamani Amma was also a famous poet, okay? So they have got a beautiful library maybe in their house. So after her death, no one is there in that house. So what happened? Snakes moved among books. I was then too young to read. When Madhavikuti was young, she was too young, was a child. She was too young to read. Okay, so she didn't used to read that books. And my blood turned cold like the moon. So after the death of her grandmother, her blood turned cold like the moon. Here you can see a simile, cold like the moon. Okay, so the blood, the cold nature of blood is compared to the cold nature of moon. Why her blood turned cold like the moon? Because she is not getting the warmth of love. When her grandmother was alive, she received the warmth of love. Now her grandmother is dead, so she's not receiving that warmth. That's why her blood turned cold like the moon. How often I think of going there to peer through blind eyes of windows or just listen to the frozen air. So, um, if you again check the biography of Kamala Suraya, you can see after her marriage, Kamala Suraya went to Calcutta. Okay, so and she lived in Calcutta for a lot of years, many years. So that's why she is saying, how often I think of going there. So now she is in Calcutta, so she always want to go back to Nalapattu Taravadu, okay, to that house. And to peer through blind eyes of windows. And she always wished to peer through. What do you mean by peer through? Peer through means look through the blind eyes of windows. So nobody is living in that house, so the windows are shut, and also it is covered with dust. So if you look through the window, nothing will be clear inside. Okay, so the windows are blind. You can't see anything through that windows. So again, you can see, can windows be blind? Okay, only human beings can be blind, isn't it? So here you can see a human attribute or a human quality is attributed to windows. Windows is an inanimate thing, and human quality is attributed to window. So it is known as personification. Okay, it is known as personification, attributing human qualities to inanimate object. That is personification. So the poet wished to go back to the house, and she would like to peer through blind eyes of windows or just listen to the frozen air. So how can you listen to the frozen air? The air around that house is frozen. Why? Because of that silence. The air is frozen. Nobody is there. Because of the silence of that area, the air is frozen. Frozen means cold air. So the air is not moving. It is standing still. Then how can you listen to frozen air? Okay, it is a paradox. You can't see through the blind eyes of window, and also you can't just listen to the frozen air. Both of them are paradox, and blind eyes of windows, that is a personification. Now, or in wild despair, pick an armful of darkness to bring it here to lie behind my bedroom door like a brooding dog. Okay, and she would like to do one more thing. First of all, she would like to return to that house, and she would like to peep through the blind eyes of the window, and then she would like to just listen to the frozen air, and finally, she would like to pick an armful of darkness, and she would like to bring that darkness into Calcutta, into her house, and lie it behind my bedroom door like a brooding dog. So, what is the darkness here? What do you mean by darkness here? Here, darkness means the memories. Okay, she's taking that handful of darkness from that house, isn't it? That house is filled with the memories, the good memories, the lovable memories of her grandmother, and the memories that she have been loved once. Okay, so that memories she would like to pick a handful of that memories with her. Okay, she want to bring it with her to her home, and it is placed. It is laid behind her bedroom. Okay, and on her bedroom door, it lay like a brooding dog. Okay, what I mean by brooding? Brooding means deeply in thought. Okay, deeply thinking. So at times, Madhavikuti always think about her grandmother and beautiful days in Nalapata Taravadu. Okay, so such memories comes to her mind. So that's what she's saying. So such memories are always on the foot of her bedroom door. But it is not coming inside of that door. Why? Because inside her bedroom, inside her room, there is no love, there is no memories, there is nothing. Only those memories can come up to that door. Okay, so it shows some complications in her relationship with her husband, maybe. Okay, so it shows a complication or a loveless life after she's leading after her marriage. Maybe. Now we can continue. You cannot believe, darling, can you? You cannot believe, darling. So she's speaking to someone, isn't it? She might be speaking to her husband, maybe, calling her husband darling. So she's saying that you cannot believe, darling, can you? What can't he believe? That I lived in such a house and was proud and loved. So the poet is asking, now you cannot believe. Once upon a time, I received such a love. Once upon a time, I was living in a beautiful house which is filled with so much of love. Okay, now when you see me, you cannot believe that. Why? Because now I am not getting enough love. So now you won't believe if I say such things. I who have lost my way and beg now at strangers' doors to receive love, at least in small change. So the poet again is saying, you won't believe I who have lost my way. So the poet is saying, now I lost my way. I lost my way of love. Now I am not receiving love. Now I lost my way and beg now at strangers' doors to receive love. So I'm not getting love from my dear ones now. So I am begging at strangers. Okay. Now I'm going to strangers and knocking their doors in order to receive love, at least in small change. What do you mean by small change? At least in small amount, small quantity. In order to get small quantity of love, now I am begging at the doors of strangers. Why? Because now I am not getting love from maybe my husband, maybe from my children, or maybe from my dear ones. Once I received love, okay, once I received from love from my grandmother at that house. Which house? That ancestral house, Malapati Taravadu. But now I'm not receiving love. Okay, so this is the poetry, a beautiful poem. Okay, so I will read the poem once again. Please listen. I received love. That woman died. The house withdrew into silence. Snakes moved among books. I was then too young to read, and my blood turned cold like the moon. How often I think of going there to peer through blind eyes of windows, or just listen to the frozen air, or in wild despair pick an armful of darkness to bring it here to lie behind my bedroom door like a brooding dog. You cannot believe, darling, can you, that I lived in such a house and was proud and loved. I who have lost my way and beg now at strangers' doors to receive love, at least in small change. Okay, so children, I hope you love this poem. So, so I think that's enough for today. I will give you just review of today's class. Today we have discussed my grandmother's house. As a post-learning activity, please read the prose 3 times and also we can do the questions in our next class. Okay. So please read the prose 3 times. That's all for today. Thank you, children. See you in the next class.